Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today I am going to walk you through the basics of Advanced Song of Blades and Heroes. And for those of you who have watched my videos in the past, you may have heard me mention that I'm a big fan of Song of Blades and Heroes. And I've had the advanced game for a while, and I'm only just now starting to play it, and I figured this would be a good opportunity to both learn the rules and share them with you. So let's get going. All right, before we jump right into a game, let me take a moment to talk about the sort of three stats that make up every model in the game. The first stat is quality. Now, quality covers kind of the willingness of a unit to fight, how effective he is overall, but really the most important thing about it is that quality is a stat that you use to determine whether or not you can activate a model during the turn. Quality is rated on a scale of 1 to 6, so a model with a scale of 2+ would be really good, and one with 6+ would be really bad. Quality rolls are done with a d6, and you are trying to roll high. So 2 is good, 6 is bad. Okay, so the next stat you need to know about is the combat stat, and combat stat does differ slightly from the quality stat, and it effectively measures how good somebody is in combat, whether that is melee or ranged combat. When you do combat, you're rolling a d6, you're adding your combat stat, and your opponent is doing the same. So it is a way to sort of differentiate yourself from your opponent when you're doing combat, and it is an opposed roll. The third thing are the traits, and the traits are kind of the secret sauce of the ASOBAH game. These are all the things that make your model cool and interesting. Traits aren't all even beneficial. Some of them are detrimental to your character, but they are the things that make your character unique. Think about it as, you might have a sneaky thief whose greediness constantly gets him into trouble, or a huge dragon who has terror that forces everybody to flee in front of him. And that gives you a sort of general sense of what the traits do. Okay, so I've set up a little kind of demo battle here, and this will be between a group of humans and a group of skeletons. Okay, so first one to activate is going to be the archer. And John has decided that he is going to roll 3 dice to try to activate. When you activate, your quality roll is actually 1, 2, or 3 dice. And this is really on you. You can decide how many that you want to roll. And it's a matter of risk-taking. The more successes you get, the more potential actions that you can do. So let's take a look. Okay, so John rolls 3 dice. He's trying to meet or exceed his quality of 3 for his archer, and he's gotten 2 successes, but 1 failure. Now that is one of the things that we need to talk about here, is what happens when you fail. Well, if you fail on 1 die, your opponent gets to take that die, as I will do in a moment, and use that to immediately activate one of his own units. So I rolled a 6, which means that I can now activate one of my skeletons for 1 action without anything else to do. I didn't have any ranged weapons. I just went ahead and moved. It's also worth noting that for movement, we use movement sticks. And this differs from using a tape measure only slightly. The sticks come in 3 ranges, short, medium, and long. And movement is generally at the medium unless you have a trait that indicates otherwise. You may have a short move or you may have a long move. You have to move. You place the stick along the path that you wish to move, and move straight along that path. You don't get to bend it around or move in any kind of curve. You actually have to follow that path. If you want to divert from that path, then you need to use another action to do that. But in this, I just move from one end of the stick to the other end of the stick. So now that I've finished my activation with my my reaction, John's going to go ahead and use his 2 actions for his archer. So for this particular shot, John's archer gets a +1 for having the good shot trait. He gets another +1 for using a longbow within long range, that is using the long range stick. But then he gets a -2 for firing at a skeletal target. So those 2 things, the 2 positives would add to his combat stat, the 2 negatives would subtract from it. They actually balance each other out. So it's just going to be straight roll, his combat versus my combat. Okay, so in our example here, John has rolled a 1 for his shot. He's going to add 3 for a total of 4. My roll is a 3. I'm going to add 2 for my quality for a total of 5, which means I won. My skeleton doesn't get hit. It's also worth noting that since he rolled a 1 with his longbow skill, he has to roll again. If he rolls another 1, then his bowstring is broken, and then he would have to spend a couple of actions to replace it in order to fire at range again. And of course, he does roll another 1. So bowstring is broken, and he is out of the long range game until he replaces it. With his second action, he decides he's just going to go ahead and move forward into contact with the skeleton. So John decided that he's going to go ahead and roll 3 dice for his leader and see how that works out for him. Okay, on this roll, he actually got 2 failures, not just 1. And that brings up another possibility in terms of reactions. When your opponent rolls 2 failures, then you have one of 2 options. You can either take those 2 dice and activate 1 or more figures, or you can just call a turnover that essentially ends your opponent's round and you get to start your turn. So now that I've taken the initiative and it is my turn, I'm just going to start activating my skeletons and we'll see how it goes. Since the quality of my skeletons is not so good, I'm not taking the same chances that John did, and so I'm only rolling 2 dice. Still, you roll good, so 2 actions for this skeleton. So, and of course, in this case, he had to use both of those activations to actually get into a combat position with the archer. So, both of those actions are utilized and he doesn't get to attack. And my luck holds, and I get 2 more actions. And again, I use my 2 actions to position the skeleton into combat with the archer. So for the last activation, I'm doing the skeleton that is already in combat, which means that I can use all of my actions for combat actions. Okay, now that I've got him almost surrounded, I can use both of my actions to do a powerful blow. I believe it's just called a power blow, but it's powerful blow. So it's 1 action just to attack, and that second action, since you can't do 2 attacks, you can just sort of put more oomph into your attack and do a power blow. And then he also is going to get, he is going to take a -2 on his roll because there are 2 additional enemies around him, not just the one who's attacking him. So we'll see how that goes. All right, I got a 5 and he got a 2. That means that my roll was twice as good as his roll, but not 3 times. Twice as good means that that model is out of action. Had it been 3 times, then it would have been a particularly grisly end for him, which would have prompted a morale check. So for the purposes of the example, we're going to assume that the 2 forces were of equal size before our example started. Because the humans have lost another guy and essentially are now down to 1 of the 3, the dead now outnumber the living, which is going to prompt a morale check. And that's just essentially a quality roll. And you are going to roll 3 dice, and for every failure, you are going to move farther and farther away. So 1 failure is 1 move toward the table edge, 2 failures are 2 moves towards the nearest table edge, and 3 failures means that that model is just completely out of action. So John made 1 failure, and he's going to move 1 stick, one medium stick, towards the closest table edge. So that's going to end our demo for now. It's worth mentioning that the book itself provides a huge number of predetermined stats for pretty much every standard fantasy trope that you can think of. And with, accompanying point values so that you can build whatever force size that you want. If you go to the Ganesha Games website, they have a force builder that you can use to build whatever you want using any of the models that you currently own. There is no specific line of miniatures for this game, so it's really built around building whatever you want with whatever you want, and it's a lot of fun to do. So that's going to end this demo of Advanced Song of Blades and Heroes, and I hope you found it useful, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.